Did China and Japan make a secret agreement to dump the US equity markets? Let's not forget, these are the two countries that hold the most amount of US treasuries in the entire world. We do know they have been actively dumping said US treasuries. And let's also not forget this devious plan created by the second and the third largest economy in the world, hypothetical plan at this stage, might have just been executed in the very week that Donald Trump was elected, a man who has previously said countries who opt out of using the US dollar will be tariffed 100% of the trade deal. Now, again, before you guys call me crazy, we have to agree the actions of Japan and China have dumped the global markets. That is not debatable. Japan yesterday actually raised their very key interest rate to the highest level in 17 years. And this is unwinding the Japanese carry trade. There's no conspiratorial tinfoil hats on at this stage. This happened. This happened yesterday. Now, what I think is even more interesting is the fact that China, the country who used to be the second largest Bitcoin holder, well, they actually dumped all of their Bitcoin recently, which I think is a little bit interesting. Let's have a look at this news headline. This came out on last Thursday. China sells nearly $20 billion worth of Bitcoin. We can see the on-chain data. China is trying to tell us they're just moving their Bitcoin to a different holding for their treasury. That's the official narrative right now. But I think it's interesting that this enormous $20 billion Bitcoin sale came 3 days before we saw a groundbreaking revelation come out of China. And this actually has to relate to artificial intelligence. Let's not forget, what else has happened that could have potentially crashed the markets? Again, we're going on a little bit of an exploration today. I don't know necessarily what is causing the markets to crash, but a lot of people did freak out over this news headline. Chinese startup DeepSeek rattles the global markets as Nvidia shares plunge. Now, this is also not debatable. This is not necessarily something we can argue with. The shares of Nvidia, the shares of the NASDAQ, market caps across the board were aggressively dumped over the past 48 hours following this news of this Chinese company seemingly creating a ChatGPT competitor. Okay, we can see very clearly the stock price of Nvidia, America's blue chip darling, dumped 25% nearly in the space of a day. Okay, this is a pretty big candle. It is bouncing back heavily today. And if we take a look at the NASDAQ, we can see the NASDAQ had a little bit of a correction. Again, I do think a little bit of the fear porn was overblown, but for the NASDAQ to lose 5% of its value in a day, that represents trillions of dollars being wiped off the market. The NASDAQ is a very, very big market. So what I do find interesting about this whole story is the chronological order of events here. China, for the first time in a decade, sells $20 billion worth of Bitcoin. They didn't just sell a little bit of their Bitcoin. They sold 193,000 coins last Thursday. Again, we've got the data. We've got the on-chain data here. The data doesn't lie, okay? And again, to Jake's comment in the live stream, we don't know, honestly, we don't know whether China has officially sold their Bitcoin. We don't have any official press release or official confirmation, but we do have on-chain data, which is showing us that a lot of this Bitcoin has moved, and there have been multiple articles written about this. So we have China moving 194,000 Bitcoin. Literally 3 days before we see what is potentially the biggest news come out of the tech space in really the past year and a half, really since ChatGPT was launched. I think this news coming out of DeepSeek, which is a company that is claiming to do everything that ChatGPT is doing, except at 5% of the cost. Like, this is really big news in the tech space. Again, we are not necessarily going to be diving into the tech space in all the detail today. Okay, the tech space is well and truly outside of our realm of specialty. But I do think the timing of these events is really interesting. It's really interesting that we've seen these two massive events happen in the space of 3 days. A lot of people are searching around, looking for an explanation for what's caused the market crash over the past 24 to 48 hours. And again, nobody knows. But what I am saying is there's some really interesting signposts coming out of Asia. And I don't think we should be ignoring these signposts. I think we should have all of the data in front of us to be sure of what is actually going on. Because again, some people, they see a 2 to 3% down day in the markets and they instantly think it's all over. They listen to the doomers and the gloomers. There's a lot of people talking about a lot of fear right now. There's a lot of people saying it's all over. There's a lot of people saying every single time the markets go down 3%, we see all of the narratives come out, like I'm about to show you here. I tweeted this out this morning. I said, ignore the perma bears who are saying that yesterday's 4% crash was the beginning of the 1987 Black Monday 2.0 crash. Some people are saying this is the beginning of the tech bubble 2.0 bursting. Let's all remember what happened in the year 2000 when the tech bubble burst. A lot of people are saying that was the beginning of the Great Depression. But I mean, when you zoom out, especially this is the chart of Bitcoin here, and we're going to look at the broader markets as well, we can see that a 4% down day was irrelevant. Didn't really do anything. So this, more than anything, we are going to get into all of the news here in a moment, but this is more a little piece of encouragement to just zoom out a little bit. The narratives are scary. The narratives are crazy. Don't get me wrong. It can be very scary sometimes if you're looking at the charts of Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis. Again, we always encourage you guys to zoom out. Before we get back to China, again, we think the best way to zoom out in Bitcoin is to get some skin in the game. Once you own some and once you've hodled Bitcoin for a few years, hodling is a whole lot easier. It's a lot easier to ignore all of the narratives being pushed out there by the doomers and the gloomers. If you are looking for somewhere to buy some Bitcoin, I always like to remind you guys about what Rhino Bitcoin is doing. We think they're the all-in-one Bitcoin super application. You can buy Bitcoin on Rhino. You can sell Bitcoin on Rhino. You can use the Lightning Network to send Bitcoin anywhere you want to send it all around the world. As you guys can see, we think Rhino's got a pretty slick, easy to use user interface. There's a lot of new people coming into the space. We want to make sure they're not too intimidated by Bitcoin. That's why we like Rhino, because it does have features that are beginner friendly, but then they're also going to have some more advanced features coming in the not too distant future. Features that will allow you to borrow against your Bitcoin. Again, a lot of people don't want to take the tax hits of selling their Bitcoin. Again, not financial advice here, but what we will say is keep an eye on what Rhino Bitcoin is doing. They're even going to be giving you guys $10 of free Bitcoin if you sign up using a promo code Bitcoin News. One word, Bitcoin News. So check out the link to Rhino in the description of today's video and buy your Bitcoin before the giant nation states like China are forced to buy back their Bitcoin. Again, we don't know, we don't have public confirmation about whether China has or has not sold all of their Bitcoin yet. I think it's interesting that it is on the move though. It's very clear that it's on the move. That's on-chain data. On-chain data does not lie. And if China has hypothetically sold 193,000 coins, nearly 1% of the total Bitcoin supply, there's a couple of takeaways here. Takeaway number one, the price of Bitcoin hasn't flinched, really. I mean, if we zoom out and we actually have a look at the chart of Bitcoin here, I want to show you guys what I think we're seeing. We're seeing the next era of Bitcoin consolidation. Bitcoin's really been going sideways here since November. And some people are getting a little bit bored of Bitcoin consolidating. It's been going sideways for nearly 3 months now. But if you had to have asked somebody 2 to 3 months ago, what impact on the price would China, the world's second largest economy in the world, dumping all of their Bitcoin, 193,000 coins, have on the price? A lot of people would be very scared. A lot of people would be painting you these doomer, gloomer narratives, saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to 35,000, sell it all. I don't want to misrepresent or generalize or categorize the opinions of the bears, but I think they would be pretty bearish if you told them somebody who held 1% of the supply was going to dump it all. Price hasn't budged. We can see price has really gone sideways. That's a big takeaway. Takeaway number 2 from China potentially selling their Bitcoin is that they're going to have to buy back. We know every nation state is going to have to own Bitcoin at one stage in the future. If China did just hypothetically sell 190,000 coins, guess what they're going to have to do? They're going to have to buy those Bitcoin back. It's inevitable. Every nation state is going to have to do that eventually. So that's takeaway number 2. Could be a little bit of a hidden bullish signal in China doing what they're doing. Signal number 3 I want to talk about is this wouldn't necessarily be anything out of the ordinary for China to dump 1% of the total Bitcoin supply and their entire wad of Bitcoin that the nation is supposed to be squatting on. Why? Well, that's because, well, China has quite the history in Bitcoin. For those who are new, I'm going to throw this article up on screen. China bans. A complete history of China's crypto bans. I'm not going to go through this entire article. Most of you guys would know, but China has essentially been banning Bitcoin since day one. We can see since 2013, China's been banning Bitcoin. They banned it on multiple different occasions. They attacked it in 2017, 2019. They attacked it in 2020. 2021 was the big ban. And despite all of this, Chinese citizens are still privately buying Bitcoin. I think there's some signal in that the everyday people do not care. And there's also some signal in the fact that I believe there is a ton of Bitcoin mining happening in China already today. Let's have a quick look. I want to show you guys an article that popped out in 2024, which is fascinating. That's claiming that this is as of September 2024. This article is claiming that China still controls 55% of the global Bitcoin hash rate. No, this isn't an old 2020 article. This is new. This is late 2024. This chart shows the Chinese mining pools controlling 55% of global hash. It's pretty interesting. I think there's some signal in there. Maybe, just maybe, China isn't as negative on Bitcoin as their public opinion shows. Let's not forget the Chinese courts even came out in 2023 after the Bitcoin mining ban, and they said they were bullish on Bitcoin being property. That was their exact words. They said Bitcoin is regarded legal property in China despite the mining ban. It's pretty interesting. This really just goes to show how unstoppable the Bitcoin network is. It's powered by miners. It's unstoppable because of the proof of work miners. Speaking about Bitcoin mining, got a little bit of a special announcement for you guys who love Bitcoin and love Bitcoin conferences. I want to quickly tell you guys about Mining Disrupt. This is a Bitcoin conference going down in under 100 days. Actually, let's fact check myself. That's under 65 days. Mining Disrupt is going down on March 25th to the 27th in America. It's going to be at the Broward Convention Center. Again, you guys know how much I absolutely love conferences. I love Bitcoin conferences. I love going there and connecting with a ton of great Bitcoiners. As you can see, there are a number of incredible guests who will be speaking at that Bitcoin mining disrupt conference. We've got BTC sessions. We've got Dennis Porter, who's always breaking news. Who knows? You might get a little piece of breaking news at the conference if Dennis is there and if Dennis is going to be talking. We've even potentially got senators like Ted Cruz making an appearance. We've got the CEO of Marathon, the most recent company, performing the speculative attack playbook on the US dollar. CEO of Marathon, definitely check him out. So I'd encourage you guys, don't just watch the future unfold, be a part of it. Secure your place at Mining Disrupt 2025. I'm told that you guys can actually get 20% off your tickets by using the link in the description of today's video. Promo code Bitcoin News, one word. Now, I might even jump a border to go make that conference. Again, a lot of you guys will know I'm not personally allowed in America. My ESTA's been canceled. But I'm telling you, there's a conference I'm going to hop a border to go and see. It's Mining Disrupt 2025. So definitely check that out. Now let's talk a little bit more about this Chinese mystery, this Japanese, Southeast Asian mystery. The fact that Japan's interest rates are at the highest level in 17 years, this is nothing to sneeze at. This is something the world needs to pay attention to. The world has been borrowing enormous amounts of US dollar debt for a very long time. And a lot of the world did this through the Japanese carry trade. Again, if you're getting Japanese yen for 0% interest rates, you're getting paid free money to go out there and take out debt. The fact that interest rates now have been risen to 0.5%, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but this is a 17-year high for Japan. This is unwinding the global Japanese yen carry trade. And this is a unanimous decision. 8 people voted for this decision, 1 against it. So there is support in Japan to normalize interest rates, which could potentially be having a big impact on global markets. Again, there's these 2 big dominoes that could be impacting the markets today. We have Japan unwinding the carry trade. And we have, well, the new Chinese company essentially saying we can do what ChatGPT can do, except cheaper and better. And these grossly overvalued US equities like NVIDIA that have capitalized off this ChatGPT bubble bonanza, maybe these guys are overvalued. Maybe, just maybe, we don't need these crazy valuations. Again, I always love the hubris that we do see in our fiat overlords. I got a quote here from CEO, creator of OpenAI. I think it's an interesting quote. I want to show you guys. He says, look, nobody can compete with us. It's hopeless to compete with us. We have a monopoly. Sorry, technology changes things. Some people could even make an argument that America's own decisions created this wave of innovation in China. Some people will say, look, America has slapped sanctions on China. America has spent $50 billion in the CHIPS Act to onshore manufacturing of semiconductor chips. This all really began in 2021, 2022, because America didn't want to rely upon Taiwan and China for their semiconductors so much in that manufacturing process. Maybe America's tariffs on China created the innovation in China. We don't know, we're just speculating, but what we will say is there's one thing that's not a speculation in the world, and that is Bitcoin. Bitcoin adoption continues to grow. Bitcoin is unfazed by the markets selling off and dumping aggressively like they have over the past 24 to 48 hours. So just encourage the 1,679 of you guys tuning in between YouTube and Twitter. Zoom out, and when you do, all of this talk of a Great Depression 2.0 is simply noise. Bitcoin is going up and to the right forever. And if you've got any strange theories about why the markets have been selling off for the past 24 hours, leave them in the comments down below. And with all that said, I'm going to end this stream here. Wish you a happy Tuesday.